It's a bright, beautiful morning. Welcome to the Nurburgring ahead of qualifying for round 9 of the 2018 Blancpain GT Series. More importantly for John Watson and I in the commentary box, it's the 5th and final round of the Blancpain Sprint Cup, and it could not be more finely balanced, John. At the top of the championship, equal on 74 points apiece, we have the number 1 Belgian Audi Club Team WRT crew of Alex Riberas and Christian Mies, and the team that seems to have the form and the momentum with it, the 88 ACA ASP Mercedes crew, Michael Meadows and Raffaele Marciello. 35 points up to play for, but equal at the top. How much closer would you like that to be?
Well, as far as we're concerned, we can have maybe 3 or 4 teams all vying directly for the championship in the Sprint Cup, but we've got absolutely stunning, perfect weather conditions here at Nurburgring. You know, it's a bit like Hobson's choice. When you come here, you never know whether you're going to get snow, fog. Well, they've had fog on Thursday. There was no running on Thursday. Yesterday was fine. Today's gorgeous, and hopefully it's going to stay like this all weekend.
Well, look at that. In fact, all the way down to last year's Sprint Cup champion Stuart Leonard on 43.5 points in 6th place. Every one of those drivers has a possibility of taking the title. Stuart, of course, his teammates have chopped and changed a little this year, but up top, 74 points apiece. But don't forget, Mirko Bortolossi and Christian Engelhardt, competitive last night, very competitive indeed. The launch of the Assetto Corsa Competizione video game that just looks outstanding. That's coming soon. So they've had a little bit of practice on the sims, but now here this weekend, look at that view. The classic circuit off to the right, but we're out to play in a Pro-Am Cup. Only 3.5 points separating the 39 crew, the TP12 Kessel Racing Ferrari crew of Piti Bhirombhakdi and Carlo Van Dam and Marcus Winkelhock and Neil Stevenot, who went very well indeed at the Hungaroring last time out. We already know the Silver Cup champions. That was clinched in Hungary by Nico Bastian and Jack Manchester. There they are at the top. Alexei Korniev and Vladimir Atuev have been very impressive in their debut season. And Nico Jama is a driver we often talk about, John. He is showing great form. Got a new teammate this weekend. He's got none other than Adam Christodoulou, so we're expecting a great result from the French driver. But right now, it's all poised for qualifying. It's quick fire. The track is in perfect condition, but as we know, it's still quite cool this morning. And there in the AM Cup, Pierre Filioni and Claude-Yves Gosselin, who were out in the opening round, they lead the way because they lead the way.
Not much competition for them at the minute, don't need to beat themselves. But what will be interesting, you mentioned the 87 ACA ASP team, Mercedes-Benz and Nicolas Jama, but Adam Christodoulou coming straight from Barcelona for last weekend. He won the 24 hours of that weekend. So there is the Nürburgring circuit, 5.137 kilometers around, 16 turns. There's a sort of a funny fudge about turn 15 to turn 17. So it's in this configuration we've got 16 turns at the Nürburgring this weekend. In again, as I repeat, perfect track conditions. Now, ambient is low, we don't mind that. Track temperature is also low. So for those cars going out in the first of the 2 qualifying sessions, it'll be different to what they contended with when they were here running in the 2 sessions on Friday morning and Friday afternoon. And it was the Belgium Audi team that actually was quickest. Dries van Thorn, no big surprise about that in the first session. And in the second session, no big surprise, I suppose, Raffaele Marciello in the 88 Mercedes, he was quickest in. But that second session was actually slightly slower. More, I suspect, to do with tyre conservation than it was out-and-out pace. So I would expect to see times in qualifying, certainly in the 1:54 region. And maybe, if somebody gets a really great lap hooked up, break into the very high 153s.
Well, let us see. Just looking at the WRT Audis, and if they go very well this weekend, they're 10.5 points clear in the Teams Championship. Could be their 6th in a row, but ACA ASP are going to keep them right on their toes. So Will Stevens will be kicking off in the number 2 Audi. You can see the STE lettering on at the top of the screen. And Alex Riberas, we just saw his car closest to pit exit. Already the cars just making their way down towards pit exit, waiting for the lights to turn green, which they will do in 15 seconds. There's the 63 Lamborghini sitting pretty in the pit lane. Driver on board, Mirko Bortolotti. Session underway in a matter of seconds. 20 minutes to go out and play. Might seem a long time from the outside, but for all these drivers, particularly with these cool morning conditions, they've got to be very, very much on their tiptoes, feeling with every sensor in their body the level of grip that is there beneath them. And tucked in behind the first of the Audis coming out of the pit lane is the yellow and black 88 Mercedes that will have Michael Meadows on board at the moment. In the second session, it'll be Raffaele Marciello, the driver who set the fastest time yesterday afternoon.
Yeah, for everybody going out, it's a brand new racetrack. Although there's been practicing for other categories on the circuit, earlier this morning, there will be an element of the track beginning to get back to the level it would have been on Friday. In other words, cleaning it back up. Tracks overnight do change. So what these drivers are going to contend with is slightly different conditions to those that they finished up on Friday afternoon. They'll get that feel. They'll know it pretty quickly. By the time they get through turns 1, 2, 3 and 4, they'll know whether there's more grip available to them. The other thing is, of course, they're going to have much fresher tyres. In some cases, they'll be on brand new sets of rubber. So that also transforms the feedback that you get through your hands, your feet, through your whole body, and will either encourage you or discourage you from making that big commitment in qualifying.
Just looking at there, Stuart Leonard's car, he has a chance of making 2 tires in a row, but it has to be said it's very much an outside chance. He's sharing with Robin Freed, so they should go very well in the race, but he is quite a long way behind the championship leader. But while there's hope, you fight on. 3 new drivers this weekend. Adam Christodoulou, we've mentioned in the 87 ACA ASP Mercedes from Nicolas Jamin. He'll be out in the second session, as will Dennis Dupont, Belgian racer, stepping across into GTs from TCR Racing. He's doing the last few years. He's in, we had a quick glance of it earlier, the 37, the 3Y Technology BMW. In fact, there it is. But it's the regular driver, the Brazilian Lucas Moraes, in the wheel in the first session. And David Perel, champion, not so 2017 AM champion, back this weekend. New entry from Rinaldi Racing, sharing the Ferrari with Rinat Salikov. He likewise will be out in the second session. But Alex Ribeiro has big hopes for the Spaniard this weekend. Could clinch the title. Just to reiterate, he's driving the number 1 Audi, sharing with Christopher Mies. They have 74 points, and so does the crew in the car that's running just behind them, the 88 Mercedes. Michael Meadows on board at the moment in the second session. It will be Raffaele Marcello. But how will the cars stack up in the first session? They go for their first flying lap. Hopefully now, John, some heat in their tyres.
Yes, and for Alex Ribeiro, he's the first car out on circuit, so momentarily he's going to get his first flying lap. Hopefully it'll be a relatively clear lap for the Spanish driver. It comes through turn 3, then the cut back to make the exit, not overrun on the exit. You see, just he's getting almost full 4 wheels over that white line, demarcation line. So you need to be careful. You don't want to use the best of your rubber and then find your time has been disallowed.
Again, as ever, when we look at these drivers, concentration in the pit lane, and Chris Mies looking at the screens, working out what Alex Ribeiro's is doing. Ribeiro's looking for every signal he can get to just help him dial the car in. But now, let's see, he's set, well, the fastest opening sector ready. Well, of course he has. He's the first one to do a first flying sector number 1. Of course, on the first lap, they were coming out of the pits, so that didn't really count. But he's certainly up on Will Stevens by about half a second in that first sector.
So that's a good first sector for Alex Ribeiro. Is up the hill and coming into turn 11, which is one of those, again, semi-bank corners. Then you've got to really get the car across back to the left-hand side to make this long exit out of turn 12. You can see how much curb you're allowed to run, and then it's flat out. 13 isn't a corner, it's just a squeeze in the steering wheel, line the car up, and now focus on where you're going to brake, because coming up into this chicane, easy in these conditions to get a little bit of a lock-up, but he gets through cleanly. Personal best, or fastest overall in first and second sectors. So a good opening 2 sectors for Alex Ribeiro. Now all he has to do is make a clean exit out of the final turn 16 and comes across start finish line at 1:54 will be the time. Is 1:55.010. I suspect that's going to be matched and beaten before this session finishes in just over 15 minutes.
Well, he was the fastest of all in sector 1, fastest of all in sector 2. We sort of getting slightly loose going through turn 12 over the curves, a bit of correction, and again coming out of the chicane, and that's why through the final sector the best time was not his. It was set by Peter Schotthorst in the 55 Attempto Racing Audi. So scope for improvement. How much improvement will Michael Meadows need? He is 4th fastest at the moment. His best time though 3/4 of a second in arrears. So the 88 Mercedes driver, there he is, yellow and black, the entry from ACA ASP, pushing hard, hoping he can improve on this second lap. But certainly the star of that opening lap was Ribeiros in sectors number 1 and 2. If he can get a tidy sector 3, join it this time around, then I think we'll be down into the 1:54s.
Lots of cars around him. I mean, the number 2 Audi, which is driven right now by Will Stevens, is currently down in 8th place, but that's simply because he's yet to record what I would call a competitive flying lap. His best lap so far, 1:56.261, which is 1.2 seconds away from the best of the number 1, the sister car, Alex Ribeiros. But this car, the 88 Mercedes, Michael Meadows behind the wheel, this has been the 88 car all year, and whatever colour it actually turns up in, has been basically the class of the field of the ACA ASP team. And in particular, when you see what Raffaele Marcello can drag out of the car, I mean, he is Mr. Commitment behind the steering wheel of this 88 Mercedes.
Certainly is waiting for a flying lap now. Just had it coming from the 63 Lamborghini crew. Goes top, Mirko Bortolotti, one of the last to set a flying lap. 1 minute 54.781. We thought the times would get down into 1 minute 54s. And Bortolotti shows the intent, but now this looks like a much better lap from Alex Rivera. Well, in fact, he backed off in sector 2. The first part of the lap was much tidier. Is it going to be an improvement from Michael Meadows? At the moment, he's down in 9th place overall, and improvement to 3rd place. 1 minute 55.1 seconds. So he's he's 3/10 and a little bit more down on Bortolotti's pace, but a great step forward.
25, the Centerlock Racing Simon Gachet on his first real attempt. He's done a 55.388, which is a very good effort, first flying lap. But Gachet had that fastest first sector. That's now been eclipsed once again by Mirko Bortolotti as he continues on to his 3rd flying lap. We're on board here, we're watching the 63 Lamborghini, Mirko Bortolotti up through the Schumacheresses, absolutely flat out as it was last night when he was driving on that simulation. So Bortolotti comes up the hill, traffic ahead. Hopefully it'll not come into play. If it does, it's going to be right up at the chicane. So the Italian swings the Lamborghini one way, then cuts back. It's here on the exit. He needs to be sure not to overrun. Just about ideal exit 463 coming down the hill, flat out through turn 13, and then all the way up to this bus stop chicane in the face.
Meanwhile, just had an improvement up to 3rd place. Goes Albert Costa in the better of the Lexuses. And then Simon Gachet completes that lap, goes into 2nd. He also goes into the 1 minute 54s. 1 minute 54.811 seconds. He's 0.030 down on the driver of this Lamborghini that's coming around to complete another lap. Will the bar be raised, or in fact the time being lowered? 1 minute 54.696. So a marginal improvement, but 0.1 of a second. And in the Blancpain GT series, those are the sort of margins that you can get away with, but anything more, you could tumble 5 or 6 places down the grid.
Yeah, it's in that final turn 16, where you're coming to the end of a lap. The tyres have had all the hard yards till they get to that final turn, and didn't quite manage to hook it up as best he had done in some of the previous sectors. Nevertheless, it was a personal best for Bortolotti in sector 3, ends up with a 1 minute 54.696, helps him retain that provisional pole, but it's only by just over a 1/10 of a second from the 25 hours. You have Simon Gachet. Alex Riberas has dropped down to 3rd place. The number 4th place, the 19 Lamborghini, Ezekiel Perez Compact, Andrea Caldarelli, so it's Perez Compact behind the wheel, doing again a very good job. I mean, as somebody who's really improved in the period since maybe a year or more than a year ago when he came in to Blancpain Sprint and Endurance. Steen Shorthorse, that's another car that'll be a very quick car. Kelvin van der Linde, his co-driver, and between the pair of them, they were on it when they were in Hungary just 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, in fact, both the cars, 55 and 66 Attempto Racing Audis, looking threats at certain points on the circuit, but occasionally running onto bits that, well, we see it time and again at turn 4, people deciding how wide they want to go. It certainly is an option. Pits becoming busy. The number 1 championship challenger, Alex Riberas, has brought it in. Likewise, Michael Meadows has pitted. He's down now in 6th place in the other car that's sharing the lead of the championship, the 88 ACA ASP Mercedes. But on board with Steen Shorthorse down to the lowest point on the circuit, the hairpin at the bottom of the hill. And again, John, it's always about waiting and then choosing when to plant the power, using the curbs a little bit, but driver's choice down there. But I feel the track is starting to grip up a bit. The temperature is creeping up by a half a degree or so since the start of the session, and I think the grip will come.
Nurburgring is one of these racetracks. I mean, it applies to a lot of circuits around the world, but it's easy to overrun under braking, and then you get compromised on the exit. It's a circuit where probably braking, maybe that 2 or 3 meters earlier than your full potential to get the car settled, to get the car in the nose of the car onto that apex, because here it's all about the drive off these corners. It's just the nature of this particular circuit. Others you can really nail it and brake late and still get a good time, but here it's about maybe just being a little bit, as it's the Shorthorse now coming into the pit lane. Well, the pit lane's very busy, John. You think the mechanics only have to send the cars out and get them when they come back in at the end of the session, this 20-minute session, but as you can see, fresh rubber being bolted on up and down the pit lane. This is Ezekiel Perez Compact. These are brand new tires going on the Lamborghini. So.
No, exactly so, but at the moment Ezekiel is in 5th place overall, so looking very good. The 90 Mercedes, that's the champions from the Silver Club class. That's Nico Bastian. It really is a case of little and large in that team. When they're up on the podium, the very lofty Jack Manchester really towers over his smaller German teammate. This is the 14 Lexus up to 3rd place. Albert Costa comes down the hill.
We see the Spanish driver, good run from the Lexus. We didn't see much of the performance, the potential of the Lexus through Friday. Teams sometimes just go through a period, a bit of pre-prepared work. He's into the pit lane as well. But the true pace of the Lexus, again, has been a work in process all the way through the season, both in sprint and in endurance. And that's a car that has really, really come forward very quickly indeed.
Well, it's very much a two-horse battle in the Pro-Am class, but at the moment it's the interlopers. It's Rinat Salikov in the Rinaldi Racing Ferrari that's joined the competition this weekend. There it is, the 333 Ferrari, 16th fastest overall, but he's leading the Pro-Am class in 18th fastest, so 2 positions further down. The provisional grid is the 26 Santalot Racing Audi. Neil Stevenart, he'll be handing that over to Marcus Winkelhock, and slowest of all, but third in the class, is Piti Bhirombhakti, the championship leader in the Pro-Am class in the TP12 Kessel Racing Ferrari.
Sister Lexus, well, back both now into the pit lane. Norbert Siedler in the 114.
Third and 10th pair of them.
Yes, Albert Costa. So again, we're seeing a set of rubber that was on the car, no doubt, throughout Friday's practice now, going for a qualifying, full blow qualifying run. Car being rotated. Are they going to put it back into the garage or just getting it lined up in echelon? So that's what they are doing. And waiting for a fresh set of rubber is the 63 with Mirko Bortolotti on board. Can we see that those are on stickers? Tyres, it's difficult to tell, so hard to find. The bodywork is so encompassing. Can't really get a look at them. See, we need to see the sticker to say conclusively that's what it is.
Yeah, let's not guess on that one. We've already seen Simon Gachet just going out in the background at the moment. It's this car, Bortolotti, 63 Lamborghini, that's fastest. Gachet, the one that just went out in the 25, the white and blue Santalot Racing Audi. He's second fastest back out, and the clock is counting down. Just over 7.5 minutes remaining in this 20-minute qualifying session. This will define the grid for the first of the 2 races here at the Nurburgring this weekend. And when qualifying 2 starts, it will sort the grid for tomorrow's finale. We'll be in front at that point. Remains to be seen. Nico Bastian knows he's already a champion this year, sharing the Silver Cup honours with his teammate in the 90 Mercedes Macra ASP, with the young British racer Jack Manchester, who's really made a splash since he came across to GT racing.
I'm not surprised he's made a splash. He's a big fella.
Indeed so.
He's very tall. Young, as 19 years old, Jack Manchester, not much more than that. And in with the much more experienced Nico Bastian, who has done a really outstanding job throughout this year in the 90 Mercedes.
Jack Manchester will be turning this weekend on the 15th of September. That's today.
Today indeed, so he's 20 today.
There we have it, no longer 19. And at the moment, the 90 Mercedes crew going well in the top 10. Nico Bastian in 8th place overall.
And that is the lead Silver Cup car here this weekend.
Silver Cup for the younger drivers. Gives them a chance to tilt for a title, and they've shown great flashes of speed this weekend, going past the Rinaldi Racing Ferrari that it's already been into the pits, but cruising slowly, or maybe just being very gentlemanly indeed.
Just watching the speed of the 90 Mercedes up through the S's, with Schumacher S's, as they are known locally, up around 195 or so kilometers per hour, just short of 120 miles an hour. You sometimes forget when watching in television actually the speed these cars are travelling at. Camera tends to sort of foreshorten everything and can diminish the actual spectacle of the speed up to 230, 41 to 244 kilometers per hour before you have to nail the brakes. The car looks great coming out of that tighter chicane, then into turn 16.
Well, in fact, the Mercedes do look very good indeed through that final chicane, because Michael Meadows holds the fastest time of all. Alex Riberas, 1:54.576. Championship challenger putting his marker down. Fastest in the number 1 Audi. So what can the other challenger do? Michael Meadows, looking at him now, he's down in 7th.
Yeah, Nico Bastian on that last lap, fastest in Sector 3, ends up overall 4th, quickest second row of the grid. Provisional with just over 5 minutes remaining. In fact, that is the fastest of the Mercedes to date. We would normally imagine that the 88 would be the quickest of the car, but of course...
It may be on this lap, it may be on this lap. No, in fact, Bastian's it won't be on this lap.
Going a bit agricultural on the exit of turn 15.
His middle sector wasn't so good, it was his best opening sector, but in fact Nico Bastian was faster in the opening sector as well, so clearly he wouldn't have beaten the sister car, the 90 crew. So Raffaele Marciello looking on, scratching his chin. Doesn't affect his qualifying time, but he wants that car as close to the top of the grid for the start of this afternoon's race.
Indeed, so that wasn't an improvement, and I suspect Michael Meadows lost a tenth or more with that trip across the top of the barrier. So we look at Will Stevens in the number 2 Audi. Currently that car is down in 12th place.
Well, Meadows did actually improve on that by a fraction, despite all the agricultural exits to the chicane, but he's was 7th, he's fallen to 8th. There's Nico Jamin. His sister cars are going up against him, both the 90 and the 87 Mercedes from ACA ASP are in front of their championship challenger. So, with the clock counting down, just over 4 minutes remaining, what can Michael Meadows do? He's got to stay calm.
Well, we got Will Stevens' personal best.
Well, he's got
in
to
the
go
number
well.
2 Audi, yes. So
he's down in 12th.
First and second sectors personal best, so we need to see a big improvement from that number 2 Audi. We'll have Dries van Thor up to 6th place, so Will Stevens will be happier with that. But of course, it's his sister car, the number 1, that is still overall quickest. Alex Riveros on a 154.5. Will Stevens 154.9, so just under 0.4 of a second.
Good thing we're looking at Nico Bastian, John. He's 4th at the moment, but he's going to get deeper into the 1 minute 54s. Well, we didn't, in fact. His final sector was not good. He was faster in sector 1, sector 2. But 1 minute 55.001, not as good as his best. And he's only a thousandth of a second behind 3rd place at the moment. So really right in the mix. You can just sense the pressure. Adam Christian standing up, scratching his top lip. Raffaele Marcello, a bundle of energy, sitting on the deck chair.
Yeah, and considering that Adam Christodoulou is having competed in the 24 hours of Barcelona last weekend, here fresh as the daisy, just gives you an indication to the level and standard of fitness that these drivers, these are not gentleman drivers in the sense of how we imagine GT racing might have been maybe 5 or even 10 years ago. It is now fully professional, and young drivers, Adam Christodoulou amongst them, as is Raffaele Marcello, as they go back now to what had been the quickest car on the track.
And fastest in sector 1 on this lap. It's Bortolotti time. He practiced on the new game night last night, the Assetto Corsa Competizione, which just has the most astonishing graphics. John, we thought we were looking at the real thing.
It was stunning, put it that way. I mean, I was surprised and delighted, in fact, because I'm not somebody who follows sim kind of events, sim racing. Fastest overall, second sector. Just stay neat and tidy, Mirko Bortolotti, and he will reclaim provisional pole with just over 2 minutes of the session remaining. It's this last corner, and we saw that on the sim game. It's easy to overrun the exit of the corner and get too wide. So this should see Bortolotti 63 back with a 154.246, a 0.3 of a second up on Alex Riveros in provisional second place.
They loved that down in the Grassa Racing Team garage. You could see the tension as they were watching. It was a really, really good lap, but it's such an easy thing to do, is to wreck it in that short final sector. It's only 18 seconds or so. Looking to see if Alex Riveros, sorry, that's number 2. That's Will Stevens can go any better. He is down in 6th place at the moment, but he's 3/4 of a second down.
And Albert Costa again in the 14 Lexus. We're looking at the car right now. Well, it's the sister car, Robert Ziedler, the 114. But it's the 14 Lexus up into 3rd place. Albert Costa, 0.3 or just under 0.4 by a thousandth of a second from the fastest time book Bortolotti. So we've got Lamborghini, Audi, Lexus, Audi, that's the top 4.
And then Bastian, 5th fastest, the best of the Mercedes. But that opening sector, the first 3 sectors from Mirko Bortolotti, was fantastic. And I say was because it's just been improved on. He's gone even faster, 54.093 seconds in sector 1. Anyone else getting down to 1 minute 54.3 seconds is doing very, very well indeed. Is there an improvement from 114? Yes, there is, but it stays in 12th position. So Norbert Ziedler going faster, but not fast enough. He's just over a second down on the ultimate pace. The ultimate pace looks so it's about to improve yet further. Into the final minute we go with Mirko Bortolotti at the top of the pile by 0.330 of a second over championship leader Alex Riveros.
And the 14 Albert Costa, the Lexus really moving around. You can see the body language as he came through the uphill very quick, 120 miles an hour, give or take 1 or 2 miles an hour, 195 kilometers per hour. Runs a bit wide, a bit early on the edge of the turn 13, but claws it back. He manages to keep that little bit of use for the throttle and steering. So checks the car exiting too early. Christian Klein looking intently. Personal best sector 1, not a personal best sector 2. Looking to see if there can be any further improvement at all. He needs to find just under 0.4 of a second to take that provisional pole.
Well, the target's not moving. Bortolotti had gone faster in sector 1. He's just pitted. Checkered flag coming out just before he crossed the finish line. Second place, 54. Yes, that could go well. Now the pressure's on you, Christian.
Christian Klein didn't think that second place was on, and then all of a sudden when he came across the line, second place, you can see, there was a look of maybe surprise, but certainly of delight. So front row start, now the checkered flag is out. Those that are still on track, of course, are allowed to finish their lap. So it may well be we can see a change anywhere between the top all the way down to 20th place.
Looking at Stuart Leonard, last year's Sprint Cup winner, he's down at the moment in 15th place. His teammate Robin Freeds hasn't done enough rounds to pitch in for the title. This is the outside title shot, and I think it's now a defunct title shot. He's gone up one position to 14th, and I'm afraid he needs to win both the races pretty much and take pole position as well, the points of pole position for good measure. So it has not been a good session at all for Stuart Leonard there. 1.1 seconds down on the ultimate pace. Haven't seen so much of the 37 BMW, and that is not a bad final lap there from Lucas Moraes. Well, his penultimate lap moved him up to 11th place.
Good job, Mirko. That was an outstanding lap, 154.246. Delighted with that. Christian Engelhardt will take over the Lamborghini as we go back to the BMW. Andrew Watson with the normal co-driver in this car, not this weekend.
Well, what's got lost slightly in the midst of time, we saw Mirko Bortolotti giving his championship chances a real boost by taking the pole position. Alex Riberas sharing the championship lead, he's third, but Michael Meadows will be starting the other championship challenging car, or equal top in the championship, down in 10th place.
What to me is interesting is we saw the strength of Mercedes in the Hungaroring, which is a tighter circuit than Nurburgring, but in much hotter conditions. Here at Nurburgring, the best of the Mercedes is the 5th place car of Nico Bastian, which is a Silver Cup car. It's not even a pro car, full-on pro. So Nico Bastian, who is effectively a pro driver, has got the Mercedes, but the one that's maybe most concerning is the number 88 down in 10th position on the 5th row of the grid.
Well, there you can see 0.8 of a second, then they need 0.9 of a second down. Top 11 cars, more than the top half of the grid, covered by 1 second, but that was a really excellent lap from Mirko Bortolotti, and I don't think Albert Costa's charge should be underestimated either, but Alex Riberas consistently at the front end of the field throughout that session. When the times were needed, he was there to set them, but Bortolotti set the gold standard, and Lamborghini gets the first smile of the day, but they have to put it away because very shortly we're going out into the second qualifying session to sort the grid for tomorrow's race. Stuart Leonard will be very disappointed with that 14th place at the end. He had an outside shot at the title, and down towards the tail of the field, Piti Bierenbach actually came at the top of the Pro-Am runners, came good at the end of the session to go 17th overall. Rinat Salikov in 19th, and Neil Stevenart 20th, and slowest of all, the other Pro-Am challenger. But let's go down and hear from Mirko Bortolotti, who's down in the pit lane, having set pole position, and he's with Dakota.
Mirko, you must be absolutely delighted with that lap. 2 out of 3 sectors purple.
Yeah, I am. It's crazy. It's great to be back on the pole after the pole in Zolder, so it's a perfect starting spot. We got another point. As I said yesterday, we are still in the title fight, even though the chances are low for us. But yeah, that was the goal today, to be on pole in Q1, and I'm really happy that I made it stick and had a great lap. So thanks to the team for a great car. But now it's all over. We have a Q2 session coming up, and Christian will do a great job as well, I'm sure.
Now, I saw you talking in the car with Christian. What tips did you give him?
Everything I know I gave him, because I want him to be on pole as well.
Are you going to spill any secrets to us?
No.
We'll see how it goes. Good luck.
Dakota, they never do. They could send us in the wrong direction, but that was sustained excellence. The fact is, following that could have been faster still, but he knew he'd done enough. A third of a second clear. Late challenge from Albert Costa, showing Lexus are on their toes all over again.
Yeah, I mean, for the Lamborghini 63, it's been a lean season by their standards. So as we come to the end of the year, that 63 car coming back to the level of performance that we sort of come to expect from it, and clearly are very delighted indeed. Mirko Bortolotti, having known he did a great job, Albert Costa. Just having a chat with the engineers, super job as well to get the Lexus up onto the front row of the grid, and he's going to be, well, he is happy, look at that. And Christian Klein, his co-driver, slightly maybe surprised, no less delighted. So great job again by the young Spanish driver in the Lexus, and again I keep mentioning what Lexus have done coming into this championship with a car that was a work in progress throughout the season, but it really sort of leapt forward around the time of the 6 hours of Paul Ricard, and they are very happy indeed. A mid-engine, front-engine car, fastest of all those mid-engine front. Well, there's only a Mercedes. Well, the BMW will never discount because it's a sole entry. But the two Lexus, the Mercedes, and to be ahead of the Mercedes here at Nürburgring, I think they should be very proud of that effort indeed.
I certainly think they should. So the 63 Lamborghini has been handed over from Mirko Bortolotti to Christian Engelhardt, but we've seen the very happy Albert Costa, second fastest in the Lexus, and Dakota has run down. Let's go and have his words.
Albert, you must be super happy with that lap.
Actually, I don't believe it. We were really struggling yesterday. We were nowhere. We were like, okay, we can do top 15. Let's keep our name, our car in the first page for tomorrow. But suddenly today the car was really good. I was surprised with that, and I was feeling confident. No, we make a good step forward between the first set of tires to the second, and I was feeling even more stronger. And yeah, when I heard you are P2, mate, well done. I say no. I mean, don't joke with this kind of thing. No, really, you are P2, well done. Wow, we were nowhere yesterday and we are P2, so they did a fantastic job, all the crew. All the team has been working until late in the night, and yeah, I'm so proud of them, so thankful, and I think this is a good thank you and a good present to them, no?
So did you change anything on the car between yesterday and today, or was it just your attitude?
Yeah, completely crazy. Everybody knows that in the sprint championship we need a more aggressive setup, let's say, and I think we try something new, something aggressive today, and looks like it's working. So let's see if our pace is the same in the race, but I don't believe that we are P2 today.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's actually very interesting, John. What we have seen is that they're still playing catch-up, gaining the experience with the car, and so they do swing from one position to another, whereas you get much more consistency from the regular lots. But just look at that delight in the garage. You can see, because if those setups have worked on one car, maybe they can quickly transfer some to the other. They might have split it, but it was a really, really strong session for them. But just looking down, as Albert said, you have to look a long way down the timing charts yesterday. They were 14th and 17th out of 20 runners.
I mean, whatever they had set up for Friday, they certainly didn't get the car dialed in. Obviously, putting on fresh rubber makes a big difference. The track temperatures, the ambient temperatures are clearly different from those that they were running when they were running on Friday. So there's a number of different factors. But again, interesting, he said, in a sprint configuration, you can go a little bit more aggressive to try and, I mean, physically get temperature into your tires. The key in these cold conditions is getting grip from the rubber. What the car setup is makes a contribution to that. But if you can't generate temperature in your tires, no matter what the setup is, you will not be able to go quickly. And it seems to me that Lexus have found the key to getting the tire temperature to work on the actual premier operating zone of these Pirelli P0 race tires.
Now, of course, you always get effectively the drivers who go out to find the grid for race number one. They're the guinea pigs. They're getting to look to the track conditions for the first time, how they are in the cool of the morning here at the Nurburgring. And so their teammates, who are all strapped up and helmeted, ready to go in this session that will be happening, starting in just under 2 minutes' time. They will have learned, they will have watched, they'll have listened, they'll have got the feedback from the driver when he got from the car. As you heard Mirko Bortolotti saying, I'm going to tell everything I know to my teammate, to Christian Engelhardt, to try and get the extra point from pole in race number 2.
Well, unquestionably, Christian Engelhardt has got the capacity to put that car in pole for the second of the sprint rounds. Dries van Thorberg sitting inside the Audi number 2, I beg your sitting number 2. Dries van Thor has been a revelation this year. I mean, I remember the lap he did at Spa for the 24 hours. Regrettably, it was a lap that was discounted. But just watching his commitment through the sweeps and flows of the Spa circuit. Here, it's a slightly different circuit. They don't have that same rhythm and flow, but it will be the same level of commitment.
So all changed. The drivers swapping over. Number 14 Lexus now in the hands of Christian Klein. We saw him watching on from pit lane.
And again, a brand new set of rubber going on that 14 car from the outset, so there's no running, giving Christian Klein the opportunity to feel how the car feels, having made a change to the setup. He's going out on a new set of tyres. He probably didn't do any new tyre running whatsoever on Friday, so he's going to find an entirely different car. I hope he has got the chance to get a time in quickly, rather than maybe taking an exploratory lap to get the feel of what the car is doing. It will be a different car.
And assisted car, the 114, Marcus Panzler, back for a second weekend in a row, standing in for Stefano Telly, who's still sort of getting back to race fitness after his accident in the Spa 24 hours. But so he's got a little bit more pressure on his shoulders, the Finn.
Yes, but he had that opportunity in Hungary. He got the 2 1-hour sprint races at the Hungaroring, so he's dialed in. But of course, I'm assuming that whatever they've done on the 14 Lexus, they've carried it on to the 114. So again, it's a little bit of a work in progress, finding out where the car suddenly has got more balance, more grip, more speed than it might have had on Friday.
So conditions absolutely perfect if you're dialing in. We've just had the first session completed, and we have Mirko Bortolotti at top of the pile. timing screens have been swept clean. The second drivers in all of the cars. A couple still sitting in the pit lane. A couple of the ASP Mercedes not yet out.
Interesting, Christopher Mies in the number 1 Audi has allowed the number 2 of Dries van Voort to slip through. So let's watch what this young Belgian driver is going to do, because what he has got is that ability, when tyres are not necessarily at their peak temperature, working towards that, but to get a time. I mean, superb car control, young driver, fully committed. I mean, I just wonder if he's going to go on and actually become a quicker driver, not necessarily a better driver, but a quicker driver than his older brother Laurent, who was of such a pivotal point of Blancpain Sprint and Endurance for many years. Now moved down to Stuttgart to join Porsche and their variety of options and competition.
Well, certainly a childhood spent standing at the back of the pit garage. I'm sure he was learning all along when he was looking at what Lawrence was up to, looking at how the team handles its information in the way that a really young brain can soak it up like a sponge. And certainly once he started racing, he was quick, but it's the way he's developed the class, but also that ability to attack in qualifying has been absolutely a standout feature. Carlo Van Dam, looking at the TP12 Kessel Racing Ferrari, leading the Pro-Am class, but he was super quick yesterday afternoon. He was something like seventh quickest, and he was only just under a quarter of a second down on the ultimate pace. So he is really, really dialed in. So there could be a very good grid positioning coming for the yellow and blue Ferrari.
Just behind the Ferrari, careful, Van der Linde, a little sniff coming into turn 12 to try and slide up the inside of the Ferrari. Didn't do it, so backed off to give himself that little bit of additional space. So Carlo Van Dam in the 39 Ferrari. There's spectacular graphics on the side of the car, one of the most colourful, if not the most colourful car in the paddock.
I must say it's a feature, particularly if you go and look at Blancpain GT Series Asia. Their liveries are really just astounding. They don't go for classical liveries, they go for something that's incredibly flamboyant, and it's always worth looking at that championship, walking up and down the pit lane, just to see a different way of doing things.
Well, when you see this car, it reminds me of a tut-tut. You're going around Bangkok or whatever it is, because they are colourful, and certainly this 39 Ferrari has got a very, very spectacular livery, in relation to the backing, the sponsorship that comes with Piri Bacti. So 8 through 3, and then making the exit of 4 again, watching. Well, that not only is it well off the racetrack, he's clipping a bit of the grass as he was coming back on, and you're not really going to be allowed to get away with that too frequently. So waiting to see who's going to be quickest, but it is Dries van Voort currently fastest overall in Sector 1 by, 40/100th of a second from the sister car of Christopher Mies. So the two factory Audis, the WRT number 1 and 2, look right now to be the two cars that are really pushing very hard. Christian Klein a little bit further back in the number 14 Audi. He's done a 55.0, so he's 6/10ths down currently on the two Audis. Good first sector there for the Ferrari, 54.4, virtually matching that of the fastest two cars currently.
Yeah, it was just looking so super strong again. The Rinaldi Ferrari keeping out of the way there. That was David Perel back on board, last year's AM champion, just bringing his tyres up to temperature. Pit lane now empty, everybody out on the circuit, waiting for Christopher Mies and Dries van Voort. They should be among the first to cross the start-finish line, courtesy of their pit being right by pit exit. And at the moment, Dries van Voort winding it up just a tenth of a second faster than Christopher Mies in Sector 2, coming up to complete the lap. Let's keep on the lap with Carlo Van Dam in the Pro-Am 39 Ferrari. So Dries van Voort top on it, 54.510. Very, very quick indeed. I think that's right on the pace of the best of Bortolotti's lap. Is he going to be top? Well, Christopher Mies tucks in behind. He's half a second clear. Then Carlo Van Dam goes third. Really, really good lap there. So they'll be delighted at Kessel Racing.
17 Audi. Robin Friens, haven't seen an awful lot of Robin this year, clashing events. He was fastest in overall Sector 1. Now it's Christian Engelhardt in the 63 Lamborghini who acquired that fastest overall sector time momentarily, because it can change so quickly.
What I loved was looking at the team manager for Kessel Racing, Tiziano Borgi, just a little raise of the eyebrows. Carry on, Carlo, but must be very proud. In fact, Carlo's now fallen to 4th place. He's still half a second down. Robin Friens in the 17 Audi. This is the one that Stuart Leonard struggled with. Was down in, I think, 14th place at the end of qualifying session number 1. Still waiting for the ASP Mercedes to set their tyres, but who's at the wheel? It's the driver who's fastest of all in Sector 1.
And not only fastest overall, Bruce, he's the first driver in Sector 1 to break the 54-second barrier with a 53.9.
The number 1 Audi has gone off. Christopher Mies
that's down at the bottom of the hill, I think down at turn 8. We need to get a wider view and see where or why that car has gone off there, so that we can't quite see. There it is. It's just about, well, it's buried in the tyre barrier, so how it got there?
Well, he was 3rd or 4th fastest at the time on the previous lap, but his time is now tumbling down at the charts. Of course, there'll be yellow flags waved down there.
Thierry Tassin and Vincent Voss on the pit wall for WRT Audi. They're wondering what happened. Of course, the driver's door, that's been on board. So this is coming red flag, so the session has been stopped. Oh, just look, he never made the corner. Never ever got the car turned in. Just slid sideways and the car's come to a halt sideways on into the tyre wall. Very bikes didn't slow down an awful lot. That's very unusual. Need to get a view and an opinion certainly from the WRT team. Christopher Mies won't be back in the pit lane until that car is pulled away. Let him get out of it. Of course, getting out of one of these cars, the driver's door is against the tyre barrier. The Christopher Mies is now out of it. He may have had to get out of the car on the passenger side. There's not a lot of, because a lot of gubbins. The red flag naturally been flown. 14 minutes, 21 seconds on the clock. The clock has stopped.
What got slightly lost in all of that is while that was happening, Raffaele Marcello would set the fastest time of all, 1 minute 54.044. The cameras, of course, focusing on the number 1 Audi off in the tyre wall. That's the car he's battling against in the championship. But will Marcello's time be allowed to stand? Did that come in before the red flag was flown? I'll keep an eye out for that. But at the moment, he is top of the charts in the 88 Mercedes. Christopher Mies, good to see he's out of the number 1 Audi, but his time, he's now 7th fastest. There's still 14 and a bit minutes on the clock for the second qualifying session.
And one would assume that that's the end of the session for Christopher Mies and the number 1 Audi, so that car will be eventually returned to the garage, to the WRT team. Hard just to tell from that onboard shot what the cause was. Was it a throttle problem? Was it a brake problem? Was it possibly a driver problem? I imagine I would discount that. So Christopher Mies found himself, I think, more a passenger than in control of the number 1 Audi, down into the hairpin, lowest point of the circuit, turn 8. Let's ride again and see. Gets down.
It's the previous corner, it's the right hand, and now starting down the hill. All as in order there, John.
Yep. We're not getting any audio from the. And just as if it doesn't have any ability to turn the car. I don't know what the problem was.
So let's go down to the pit lane, and we've got. So let's have a look at the replay from another angle again. It's the right-hander. All seems fair here. I mean, we see Christopher get out of the car and look at that front left corner. He's looking for any clues.
So there it goes in. I mean, it just doesn't really seem to slow down very much.
Well, let's flash down to the pit lane because Dakota has caught up with Christopher's teammate, Alex Riberas.
Alex, so unfortunate. What happened there?
Yeah, well, we are not exactly sure what happened. You know, we have to wait until the car comes back to the garage. But apparently what Chris said on the radio is that we had a problem in the brakes. That's why he went straight in turn 8. And right now we just hope that we can repair the car for race 1 and hopefully do a good job there. And we are actually starting last on race 2, but everything is still possible.
You've heard from him, though. He's okay?
Yeah, apparently he's good, which is also very important. And yeah, I'm sure we will bounce back.
Unlucky.
Yeah, I mean, it was something that was beyond the driver's control. And of course, when you're braking, you're picking your points. You know the point where the maximum you can afford to brake. And then if something happens, you have to go into rescue mode. He did very well, actually, to get the car from more or less pointing straight towards the tyre barrier to go into it in a sideways. So it cushioned the effect for Christopher Mies, first of all, and hopefully will mitigate any of the damage. Let's watch again and get a feel for what he's making, an adjustment to the back of the steering wheel. And there, there's nothing. He just turns the wheel, car goes sideways, he gallops sideways, slams into the tyre barrier, and that absorbed all that energy. So it will hopefully, Christopher will maybe just a bit shaken and stirred, maybe a few little seatbelt bruises when he wakes up tomorrow morning.
But it's so difficult, John, coming here with a share of the championship lead, ahead by 2 wins to 1. So even though equal on points with the 88 Mercedes crew of Meadows and Marcello, and you just think, I've got to go through the checklist. They've qualified 3rd for race number 1. That's good, that's fine, I'm in the ballpark. particularly is the 88 car, the one we just seen on the screen. Challenger is 7 places further back. But then you get to qualifying session number 2. Just got to get in the top couple of rows, all will be fine, and then this happens. So the mindset, what must be rushing through their minds now, this was not something they were expecting to come their way. All times, I just noticed on the timing screen, set after the red flag would be cancelled. Of course, that's a very obvious one indeed. So we may have a readjustment on our screens, but at the top of the time charts at the moment, maybe just squeaked in time. Raffaele Marcello, top, 1 minute 54.044 seconds. That's over a third of a second clear from Christopher Haas in the number 25 Santalot Racing Audi, who went so well last time out at the Hungaroring. Cars getting ready at pit exit, waiting for the session to go green.
14 minutes remaining, so plenty of time for the 19 cars that are now remaining, because that and also the 19 Lamborghini, just looking to see who had or hadn't recorded times up until that point. So the 333 Ferrari and the 19 Lamborghini Andrea Caldarelli, they had not actually recorded a time.
Well, in fact, it's been a transponder problem with the 333 Ferrari. It's still showing Rina Salikov who did session number 1. There was a note on screen saying that will be sorted after the session. So it's David Perel, the South African racer, who will be driving that bright green and yellow Ferrari. But lining up at pit exit, you can see it's going to get very busy indeed. Adam Christodoulou anxious on his debut in this year's championship in the Sprint Cup to go out and set a really, really good time in that 87 ACA ASP Mercedes. 8th fastest at the moment.
Well, happy days for something.
A local theme park. It's a pit board. It's very happy indeed. So, happy penguins.
Well, I mean, we could speculate what that all means, Bruce. Maybe not appropriate this time of day.
No, I think it means that there's an ice racing championship, Blancpain GT Series, ice racing series coming up.
We had fog here on Thursday, so there was no running whatsoever. Still taking some time to get the Audi removed from the tyre barrier, and they've got the recovery vehicle there, and the hydraulic jack or hydraulic crane is about to try and swing its arm around to get the lifting plates. So sometimes what you can do is you put a big, basically a big nylon rope through the cockpit in one way to lift the car away from the tyre barrier if they can't get full access to it. So it's going to be some moments yet. Everybody down the pit lane waiting for this track to go green. Well, it's going to take another minimum 5 minutes, I would imagine, maybe longer, until this car, not only have to get the car away, they've got to rebuild that tyre barrier. So that's got to be reset correctly before this session. So it could be maybe up to 10 minutes. And everybody, well, not everybody, you got 6 or 7 cars waiting to go out on the track. Others are just sitting back there.
Well, while it's not busy on the track, it's busy in the pit lane, and Dakota's gone to catch up with Michael Meadows.
Michael, now you qualified 10th. You've got to have a bit more faith in Raffaello to, put you on pole for that second race.
Absolutely. Well, he did a great time before the red flag, so we'll see what happens at the end of the session. But yeah, he seems to be more hooked up than me. I was struggling a little bit with the balance and to just could do sectors, but couldn't hook it all up together on the one lap. So that's a bit disappointing. But we'll see. Last year the finale here was crazy, so we're not too downhearted yet. We need a good session now, and let's see what this afternoon brings.
Now let's talk about the championship a little. Now you're tied for first with Chris Mees and Alex Riveros on 74 points. This is a mega weekend for you. What's the plan?
There is no plan really. You can't have a plan. It's because things change so quickly. We just have to do the best we can, be sensible, make sure we're not involved in any incidents. But for now, we know it's all about qualifying. It's just about making sure that we can do a good lap, and the race will sort itself out. We can't affect what others do too much.
Are you nervous? You look a bit nervous.
Yeah, I think everyone would be, I don't know about nervous, but anxious, because you want to see what happens. You want to know the result before it happens. So it's natural, I think, to be a bit apprehensive. But once the racing starts, the best bit is being in the car, because you forget about all the bullshit and you can just concentrate on driving.
Good luck. Thanks.
It's true. It's a constant moving variable.
Yeah, I think Michael Meadows, he's obviously disappointed that he didn't do a better time in his session. He said couldn't quite get the car balanced perfect. That's something we alluded to in the commentary, that track temperatures are lower. Lots of factors different to what they ran on Friday. The familiar feelings that you get from your car, then you get in it this morning and suddenly it's not performing quite as you remember. Remember that 88 Mercedes was quickest overall in the second of the 2 free practice sessions on Friday. That was with Raffaele Marcello. Michael clearly aware of his responsibility in that partnership, as will be the number 1 Audi, Christopher Bies, who's had a look, there's the damage to the side of the car. So bodywork damage, well, that's superficial. It's a question of whether any damage was done to, you can see the rear corner, the left rear corner has taken a big impact. Whether that's gone through the wheel, the hub, the drive shaft into the gearbox, that's another area the team are going to have to examine this car. It'll obviously clearly not be out for the rest of this part of the session. The focus now is to get that car into the garage, strip it away, strip it down, check every element that could have been damaged, get the spare parts, man, get everything available that we might need, not that we're going to need, but might need. And in the meantime, car's still down at the outside of turn 8, and there's still work to be done on that tyre barrier before we can get the session back underway.
Well, we've got it, it's 10:15, nearly 10:16. Message on screen says session will restart in 10:17. They're going to have to move fast, but the time that will be the focus of the number 1 Audi crew is 13:45. That's when pit lane exit closes to get to the grid for the first of the 2 Blancpain Sprint races this weekend, which will kick off
That's
at
not a lot of
2.
time.
It's not a lot of time.
You know, they've got to strip the car down. They will do that very quickly. The stripping down doesn't take very long. But look, you can see the extent of the damage around. Again, I say the bodywork is superficial, but what is not superficial is all the mounting points. So if those mounting points have taken, as well as the bodywork, you know, an impact, that is another frustration.
Well, let's head down to the pit lane because Dakota's caught up with the driver leading the Pram champion, Piti Birenvakti.
Pity, now you're racing here all the way from Thailand. Yep. What is it like racing here on such a legendary track like the Nurburgring with, you know, such a high level of competition and Blancpain GT?
Well, it's very exciting for me, and the track is very nice, and all the competitors are very good, and the weather is very nice today, so we're hoping for a good win today.
Now you've got a bit of a battle to put up this weekend in the Pro-Am Sprint Championship. Are you ready for the battle?
Yeah, definitely.
And Carlo?
Yeah, he will. He's right now qualifying, and I think he will do good.
Were you happy with your qualifying lap?
Yeah, my time was quite good, and I'm happy with the time that I made.
This is your second time on this track,
yep.
So you must be a little bit nervous about the race.
Well, I'm pretty comfortable with the track, and the condition is very good, the car is very good, and I'm very confident on the racing this afternoon.
Everything sounds very good. Good luck.
So Piti Birenvakti in the Singer liveried car, the TP12 Kettle Racing Ferrari. Does look fantastic, John, but he did a very time late in his session to go top of the Pro-Am runners. That's all he's looking to do.
Yeah, but his co-driver Carlo Van Dam, overall third quickest this car is. That's Dries van Thorn looking at the third. It's down at 10th place, so it is leading from Marcus Winkelhock in the second of the 2 Pro-Am entries. So the difference between those 2 cars is 72 of a second, between first and second in the Pro-Am category, with the 2 pro drivers is almost immeasurable. Anyway, let's get back to see Adam Christodoulou is going to be somebody I will want to watch. There he is sitting in the cockpit of the 87 Mercedes-Benz. We saw 87 again going back to a fortnight ago in Hungary. Nicolas Jamin doing a really outstanding job in that particular car. It was tough racing around the Hungaroring, and I suspect later this afternoon and on Sunday afternoon it's going to be no less tough. The big difference is that in Hungary the temperatures are in the high 20 Celsius, and there is that. I'm surprised that that's been left like that.
Well, it was in a slightly unusual place. They normally tend to go off a little further around the corner because they've managed to turn into the corner, but he was very straight on until Christian Mies managed to flick it sideways. Anyhow, that's underway. Well, the session is now going to start at 10:20 because we missed the 10:17 intended restart time, but that battered Audi needs to get back as fast as possible to the WRT garage so they can start working on it all and check every single element of that car. Check and repair and check again.
So 10:20 start, beginning to get a little bit of cloud drifting in. It's not unusual here at Nurburgring. We're up, 600 metres, 500 metres above sea level, and the forest is like a bit of blotting paper for any liquid. If there's anything in the atmosphere, it'll find its way to Nurburgring, or its cousin in Belgium, Spa-Francorchamps.
Peas from a pod. On the good days, they're very, very good.
Oh, the good days, they're stunning. I mean, it's beautiful right now, but that little bit of build-up is starting, which when we got here first thing this morning, it was gin clear.
So it was okay. The teams have seen the message on the screen, so everybody's got their car up on the jacks, waiting to go back down onto terra firma. In fact, they're all on terra firma, all with a fresh set of rubber on board. Naturally, they've come in for the final second half of this qualifying session number 2, the one that defines the grid for the Sunday race. But this time around, they've been slightly, their hand has been forced, leaving them with a shorter first stint, which actually in some ways gives them a little bit more time to make their space out on the circuit.
So Dries van Voor out of the pit lane, looking intent, I think is the best way to describe it, and the car's body language. So he knows that just under 15 or 14 minutes of the session remaining, and it's going to take another minute and a bit to get back onto the start-finish line before he can begin yet again another flying lap. Currently in 3rd place overall at 154.5. Needs to find just under half a second to match the time of the 88 Mercedes of Raffaele Marcello. We haven't had any indication that anybody's times had been deleted, because if the red flag comes out and you're on a flying lap, you must immediately slow down to 50 kilometers per hour and abandon whatever you were doing.
Yeah, well, no time has been moved off the top of the screen. Michael Meadows very much stressed that Raffaele Marcello, his teammate, had set his time before the red flag. You might say, well, he would say that, wouldn't he? But anyhow, Marcello's time is still at the top of the screen. Chance for Dries van Voor to... He came into this final round of the championship in 5th place, sharing with Will Stevens. They all drive their own races, but it won't have escaped his notice that his teammates, the number 1 Audi, was in the tire wall down the bottom of the hill. So it gives him a chance. They all have to think of their own positions to maybe find a bit of an advantage to get back to the WRT.
Second of these 2 cars, Lukas Stolz, again somebody who's been outstanding throughout the season. So waiting to see whether number 6 Mercedes, and it's very graphic, beautiful blue, suits the car perfectly. Now Dries van Voor gets the car lined up, still trying to get tyre temperature on those front tyres, wiggling it around on the entry. So now he's got to make a commitment out of the final turn, goes across start finish line to start what will be his 4th lap. This is coming up to the end of his 3rd lap. So Dries van Voor goes on to his 4th lap of his session so far this morning.
Still waiting for 2 cars to set a time in this session. The number 19 Lamborghini from Grasser Racing Team, Andrea Caldarelli has taken that over from Ezekiel Perez Companc, and David Perel, the 333 Rinaldi Racing Ferrari. But everyone else who set a time is spread of times, in fact nearly 4 seconds from the best time set by Raffaele Marcello to the worst time so far set by Dennis Dupont, making his debut for the 3Y Technology BMW team. Bouncing around, Dries van Voor, super committed.
Absolutely 100% on the edge. May not have yet got the temperature in the tyres to the level he wants. He's got the 333 Ferrari staying well off the racing line on the right hand side coming down into turn 8. So Dries van Voor, no issues whatsoever. This is the corner we saw a few minutes ago. Christopher Mies have an issue alluded to by Alex Riberos that it might have been a brake problem. Now these cars run ABS brakes, and of course that's a sensor controlled part of the car's braking. It's not a fly-by-wire brake, it is a mechanical brake, but the ABS is the electronic component within the brake.
Looking for the first signals, the first split times to come on our screen. Dries van Voor, not the best opening sector. We almost get the feel this is a lap that's a prelude to the lap that's going to be pretty quick, with all that wheel waggling as he came up to the final corner. Suggesting maybe he wasn't quite yet confident, but certainly he's pushing hard, but that first sector time has not been good.
At Adam Christodoulou, I think it is, coming up behind in the 87 Mercedes. So, and in fact, into the pit lane for Dries van Voor, not happy with the sector time, so the team have undoubtedly called him in as we look now at the 87 Mercedes going on to its flying lap. Christodoulou currently 8th quickest overall, a clear racetrack ahead of him. So we'll wait and see what the first sector time will be for that car 87, as we assume Dries van Voor might be coming in and thinking, if you've got a spare set of new rubber for me, I would like those on my car.
Jack Manchester Silver Cup champion for 2018, along with Nico Bastian, his teammate, just improved his time, 17th fastest at the minute, but he's got to find a fair bit to get close to the front of the grid. 3 seconds and a little bit more down on the ultimate pace. The pace set by Raffaele Marcello, but waiting for Marcello to show his hand in this second part of Sector 2 after the red flag. for Christopher Mies, his championship rival, who went off down at the hairpin at the bottom of the hill, turn 8.
Just wonder how much Christian Engelhardt, currently 4th quickest in that 63 Lamborghini, the car that has confirmed its pole position for the sprint round this afternoon.
Well, he's sitting in the pit lane.
So what are they doing? The car's up on the jacks. We couldn't see whether they changed tyres or they just put it up to rotate it. Let's go back to Carlo Van Dam. Comes through the final turn in the 39 Ferrari. Comes across start-finish line, personal best, first and second. So that is an improvement. Carlo Van Dam goes up to 3rd, quickest 154.451, Bruce. Excellent time indeed.
A lot of the pro lineups would take that time any day of the week, going really well for Kessel Racing. This is the Pro-Am Championship Challenge. Only 3.5 points clear of Neil Stevenhart and Marcus Finkelhoff, but certainly for Pitty Birambakti, who was the top Pro-Am qualifier in race 1, albeit in 17th place, he will be delighted that his early driver coach, Carlo Van Dam, is 3rd fastest.
Yeah, new rubber there in the ACA ASP team, so will those be going on to the 87? Kelvin van der Linde, 66.
Well, they won't be going to the 88. Dan has just come back onto the circuit. Raffaele Marcello has left the pits. Christian Engelhardt likewise gone back out onto this. No, he's still in the pit lane. In fact, yeah, still at the stand, still in the pit lane. Quite a few cars in the pit lane. The buzzer, the siren keeps going off as cars enter. You're quite right, John. The 87 Mercedes is in for its tyres.
So we're looking at Kelvin van der Linde in the 66. Kelvin again, great job at Hungaroring. Got an interesting little sort of rub and hip and shoulder from Robin Frieds during the latter part of the race on Sunday. So very, very competitive between the various Audi, Altemptor Racing, Santaloc Racing, WRT teams. Gravel on the outside, lots of drivers catching that just at the edge of the outside of the left rear tyre coming back onto the track. You don't really want to see gravel there because not only is it a very slippery adjunct to the surface, but it also could probably cause, if you catch a bit of that flint badly, it could cut a tyre down. Andrea Calderoli, in the meantime, in the number 19 Lamborghini, has finally got that car up onto a decent grid position. Provisional, 7 minutes to go in 6th place.
And all along, as drivers improve their time, unfortunately, the number 1 Audi crew falling down the order. Christopher Mies clearly not going to be in the rest of this session after his accident down at turn number 8, fallen to 9th place. Every place that's lost will make it harder in their championship challenge. Riding aboard the 66 Audi now, really starting to fly.
Yeah, he's got traffic ahead of him. He's just coming to the end of the 2nd sector. Personal best.
He should be okay because I don't think they're going to interrupt him unless one slows noticeably. Oh,
they are going to come into play, and that's a frustration for Kelvin van der Linde because he'd done good job in the 1st and 2nd sector, and then suddenly he just catches the Audi ahead of him in the wrong part of the racetrack at the wrong time. Anyway, he goes better. He goes up to 2nd place at 154.369, and I suspect, had he not had the traffic directly ahead of him, he might have been not going to be in provisional pole because there's still 0.3 of a second, but he would have been certainly closer to the time of Marcello with that provisional pole in the Mercedes.
But as it was, John, the 1st sector was his best, the 2nd sector was best, the 3rd sector was still his best. Christopher Haas looking to fight back. He was the driver demoted in the number 25 Audi. Been going really, really strongly through the second part of this season for Santaloc Racing, and certainly this year Santaloc last year started to improve their pace. The big surprise was Tempto Racing, last minute decision. His real 11th hour to come across and race Audis, and they made an instant splash in the opening round at Zolder and have been getting better and better. So it's not Team WRT all the way in the Audi camp.
A lot of gravel on the exit of turn 6. Christopher Haas slightly frustrated that the 88 Mercedes, which has just gone onto a flying lap, with Christopher Haas currently in 3rd place, getting frustrated by the fact that he wanted to continue his run, and one might say that because of the circumstance, one car going onto a flying lap, another car continuing. Still a personal best for that car. Robin Frieds, by the way, has improved again up to 6th place in the number 17. He got shuffled back down there in the space of about 2 laps, but Christopher Haas will be disappointed, but it'll be the pace of Raffaele Marcello and the Mercedes. There he is, he's pulled significantly ahead of the Audi. I suspect Christopher Haas in that middle sector has actually backed out of it because he knew that the Mercedes was not going to concede any ground. So how is he going to get in that middle sector? Yeah, 45, so...
Who's second,
3
John?
seconds down.
Carlo Van Dam. Third wasn't good enough. He's now second. He's a quarter of a second down, but as he does it, the target starts to move. Raffaele Marciello looking at him now in the 88 Mercedes, looking to stretch his legs. His first sector wasn't brilliant. His second sector very much was 54.303. So no improvement, but if he can get a better first sector on this lap, put some nice tidy sectors 2s and 3s in, he'll stretch that advantage. But Carlo Van Dam, I think the trumpet should be ringing out for him. Second fastest, the Pro-Am leader, and the number 2 Audi trying to advance. Dries Van Tor, he's fifth. He goes second. Number 2 on the door, number 2 on the timing screen.
And critically, he was fastest again overall in that final sector. So not only was it a good sector to finish this lap on, it's a good sector to start his following lap on. So now what he's got to do is try and consolidate as we go back to Christian Engelhardt in the 63 Lamborghini, falling away a little bit down in 7th place, but we haven't seen a lot of Christian Engelhardt in this session. This is the car that will start on pole, got a pretty clear track ahead of him, so the Audi going into turn 11 is not going to come into play.
They have played it cool. They stayed in the pit lane far longer after the restart than the others, and I think they're banking on others having used their tyres and coming in. Lucas Stoltz now up to 4th place, and I think the final lap, the 63 Lamborghini Huracan, could be on a fairly empty track, and maybe that's what the Grasser Racing team was banking on. Certainly at the moment they're not banking on Christian being down in 8th place.
So we're waiting to see what will happen. It's quite a long middle sector here, so personal best 54.1, which is pretty much in the ballpark with the exception of Marcello, who did a 54.0 in his first sector on this current lap, but not overall best. So back with Christian Engelhardt, runs the curve on the entry, runs it on the exit, swings the car up high, then drops back down to clip the curve into turn 12, runs the curve on the exit. All that is perfectly acceptable. Just thinking forward, the car that is directly ahead of him, will that be a factor coming up into this tight chicane? Not the tightest of the chicanes they can operate here at Nurburgring.
New fastest time, 1 minute 54.013, set by Raffaele Marciello, rumbling over the finish line in that 88 Mercedes from ACA ASP. So the target keeps moving. Dries Van Tor is 0.2 of a second down in second place in the number 2 Audi. 63 Lamborghini, Christian Engelhardt, his best first sector, not his best middle sector, not his best third sector, so he stays in 8th place.
Now that was he didn't really bother with those final sectors because he realised that there wasn't going to be enough available, so he saved what he's got, and certainly in the respect of tyre usage, to have another go and try and get a clear lap. Lucas Stoltz personal best in first and second sectors, currently in 5th place, and this could, one might say, should see an improvement.
Well, his time is identical. He's identical on time to Carlo Van Dam. No longer. He gets top one in 54.807
and
seconds.
He eclipsed Raffaele Marciello. So Lucas Stoltz in the number 6, the glorious aquamarine blue Mercedes, and well, that was, let's say, we weren't counting on that happening.
No, we certainly weren't. So here we had...
neither were at the front row.
No, they weren't. Black Falcon is the established Mercedes team, but here we have it. Now Carlo Van Dam not going to improve this time around, still waiting for a charge from the Lexuses. They're down in 12th and 14th place after that remarkable run to second place in qualifying session number 1. Carlo Van Dam will not improve on this lap, but is anybody going to match Lucas Stoltz? Top by 6 1,000ths of a second, and with just over a minute remaining. The championship permutations are being really given a great shake, John. They're being up and down. And talking of down, Christopher Mies, the number 1 Audi, is down to 13th place. Is anybody likely to topple him before the end of the session? He's only a few thousandths ahead of the Lexuses.
Well, and for championship positions, obviously the 88 Mercedes is a shoe-in this race. This is going to be the Sunday sprint race. The sister car, or the sister team, I should say, the number 6, which is Black Falcon, as you pointed out, Bruce. You would think that there might be a little bit of synergy between the ACA ASP team and the Black Falcon team when it comes to maxing out a potential point, if it needs that. But what will happen here later this afternoon will be a different story, because the number 1 Audi, Christopher Mies, will be starting in its position from the times established in that first qualifying session.
Third in the championship on points as we go into the final half minute of this session. The 60th 88 will not improve, so he will not go top. That is the domain of another Mercedes team, the Black Falcon team, Lucas Stoltz. But if it could stay as a front row, but it's very, very close behind. Let's just reiterate, 6 1,000ths of a second is the gap between first and second, and then only a point less than a 1/5 of a second back to Dries Van Tor in third. Christopher Haas chopping away in 4th place, but the 63 Christian Engelhardt, no improvement from him. The checkered flag is now out, being waved on the start-finish line. And it looks as though not such a good session for the 63 Championship Challengers. They're third on points. They'll be starting 8th, but the team that are top on points may not even get to start this afternoon's race. The number 1 Audi put into the tyre wall down at the bottom of the hill by Christian Mies. He's ended this session in 13th, but to find a few cars coming around, he may yet move another place back down the grid.
Yeah, I mean, the effect is the check flags out. Everybody who might have been a challenger for that front row position has, in effect, given up. There's the 90 Mercedes. It's currently
slowest of all. But in fact, I did say that Christian Mies might lose another position. He did to a teammate. Ricardo Feller put the number 3 Audi up to 12th. So Christian Mies will start tomorrow's afternoon's race in 14th out of the 20 runners.
Through the grid. Nurburgring, like most circuits that around the world, overtaking, you have to think about it and work very hard to do it. And it is certainly no easier here at Nurburgring than it would be in any of the other circuits we've been to. There's the 14, and that's down Christian Klein. Disappointing for Christian Klein, down all at 15th position. That car, Albert Costa, starting second in the sprint round this afternoon. So Christian Klein not getting hooked up. And I wonder whether, as I pointed out at the time, he went out on a brand new set of rubber. Did he actually not? Well, he would have been better going out, let's say, on a set of used rubber if it was available, and then transfer to a new set. So he would have picked up the signals and the messages from the car, and then with the new set on, give him the opportunity to use those to full effect. Well, there are bits and pieces, drive shaft, hub assemblies, which are being prepared. I mentioned that the store man would be getting all the bits that would be thought necessary. Hopefully it will not be a gearbox itself. But when you have a side-on impact like that, the impact goes all the way through the drivetrain.
And nothing can be left to chance. Absolutely everything will have to be checked. But a real surprise, we mentioned that Lucas Stoltz in particular has been going really well. Fantastic performance, the Hungaroring last time out, but we didn't expect pole position by the smallest of margins, just 6 1/1000ths of a second of the man we see as the Mercedes form man, the real form man, Raffaele Marcello. He's the overall Blancpain GT points leader by something like 11 points. We've still got the final round of the Endurance Series at Barcelona in 2 weeks' time, but here, the front row for tomorrow afternoon's race is all Mercedes. Lucas Stoltz, top for the Black Falcon team. Raffaele Marcello, championship equal leader, will start alongside. Look how small that gap was, 6 1/1000 of a second. Great run from Dries van Tor into third place. Christopher Haas, he's always there or thereabout. Great performance in the Santalok 25 Audi crew. Carlo Van Dam, though, really accolades to him. He's in a Pro-Am entry, leading that championship only by a small margin, right in the mix. Consistent excellence from the Dutch racer in the number 39 TP12 Ferrari. 66 Audi in third place. Kelvin van der Linde, you expect excellence for him, and he delivers time and again. Down the bottom of the chart, Silver Cup champion Jack Manchester. A lot of the drivers found their session a little bit interrupted by that red flag, but the real story was the pace of the Lexuses in race for qualifying session number 1, but what they gained in session 1 they lost in session 2, and you can see them down on the second page of the timing grid in 13th and 15th positions. Marcus Paltela and Christian Klein doing the honours. Some more head scratching for the Lexus crew, but it was all Mercedes in qualifying 2 for the second race, the final race of the 2018 Sprint Cup. And Lucas Stoltz, he can sit down and enjoy a very good lunch, but bear in mind the race will be coming up soon after that. But really looking back at the highlights, it was a case of getting in, getting out onto the circuit and putting the lap times in. Beautiful weather conditions here at the Nurburgring, jostling for positions. This was ahead of the first session. This is Christian Mies watching on to see what his teammate can do. And Alex Riberas was delivering very, very well indeed, setting times constantly at the top of the timing charts. Michael Meadows found a little bit of a problem exiting the chicane, but the pace of Albert Costa was a real surprise, not just to him, but the team as well. They struggled awfully yesterday, were right down towards the bottom of the timing grid, but all eyes always on the 63 Lamborghini in the hands of Mirko Bortolotti. Great delight for the whole team. Pole position number 1, 1 bonus point for them already in the bag. And it was time, of course, to swing into session number 2. Came here leading the championship, but something went wrong going down into the hairpin at the bottom of the hill. Christian Mies put the car sideways to absorb the impact as well as possible. He was okay, the car was not. The red flag was waved, and then it was up to the crews to go out and put their time in the second part of qualifying session number 2, and Raffaele Marcello did not disappoint. He went to the top of the time charts, but a really late charge from the Black Falcon Mercedes saw Lucas Stoltz go to the top of the timesheets by just 6/1000ths, and the WRT Audi team had no answer for the pace of those two Mercedes at the top of the chart. And at the end, championship challenger Mies, unable to complete the session, ended up down in 14th place, so it's going to be a real struggle. But let's take a look at the points. The bonus point this morning will go to Mirko Bortolotti and Christian Engelhardt for pole in race 1. They take that, and Lucas Stoltz race 2. But it's equal at the top. Raffaele Marciello and Michael Meadows in their ACA ASP Mercedes, 74 points. Alex Riberas, Christian Mies on 74 as well. But they were the car in the barrier. It's going to be a little bit harder for them across the 2 races here at the Nurburgring this weekend. And in behind the 63 Lamborghini, Mirko Bortolotti, Christian Engelhardt, they will hope that the things will go their way. And already just through the 2 qualifying sessions, we've seen that the dice can roll in many directions. So all drivers just will be hoping to keep things clean and clear, and in beautiful weather conditions here at the Nurburgring. Blue sky and a little bit cloud. Looks though we're set fair for the first race of this final weekend of the Blancpain Sprint Cup. Who will come out on top this afternoon? Who will keep their cars clean and undamaged for tomorrow's second and final race? But this track throws up so many incidents, you cannot predict who's going to come out on top, but the job has been done by the crews who qualified at the front of the grid. So we know, starting from pole position, will be the driver who has so much experience. It'll be Mirko Bortolotti. Will he win? We will find out.